This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
This is what you can look forward to in part 1 as we go skywalking through Rogue One on Skywalking Through Neverland.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Many are saying this might be their favorite Star Wars film.
Well, you want the exclusive?
Today's to-do list, get revenge on Anthony Breznican. All right, moving right along. I didn't think the Death Star was going to blow up.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hello, Skywalkers.
Listen!
Up to Neverland.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Wow. Oh, what?
You are skywalking through Neverland.
Hey, Skywalkers, who's ready to talk Rogue One? Well, if that's you, then you've come to the right place. So welcome to
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We are the fun-filled Star Wars and Disney podcast that bring you entertaining stories from the creators and fans. And we are also going to bring you lots of spoilers. There's no way to talk Rogue One without talking Rogue One.
And all of Rogue One.
Now, for those of you who are still listening, we want to give you a big thanks and a giant Wookiee hug to our family of Skywalkers who listen to the show every week, post on our Facebook group, and share the positivity about our adventure through fandom. And boy, we've had a lot of those lately. I am Richard Wolosky, your tour guide through fandom. And now, everyone, please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah, who is my Christmas in the Stars.
Yay! Hello to all Star Wars and Disney fans and our family. And I also want to welcome any of you who are newly listening to us today. And thank you for joining in. We love it when you support the show throughout all social media. You guys post your Skywalker selfies. You tweet at us during the show. We are at Skywalking Pod. And then you become a Tweetwalker as well as a Skywalker. Now, we hope you liked our bonus Christmas episode last week where we talked about Christmas in the Stars.
And I'm so glad that a lot of you had listened and later on said, hey, I had that album as a kid or that cassette tape as a kid.
Or some of you hadn't even heard of it. So it was like a whole new experience and you now have a new Christmas listening playlist.
So when it comes to retro Star Wars, we are there for you. Now, we are recording this from Long Beach, California, where it is 2 degrees on December 18th, 2016. And now, Sarah, as always, I want to know the time.
It's 8:24. Good morning.
Wow, we're recording pretty early.
Yeah, that's why we're not periscoping. Sorry, everyone, but got a really jumbled, busy schedule today. And
it's true.
And I don't know about you, Sarah, but I'm having a very bad hair day. I'm having a Saw Gerrera hair day right now.
Oh.
Some things are just not meant to be seen.
It's true.
But what's meant to be heard is what's coming up on today's show.
Oh, now that was a nice segue.
There you go. Now we have part 1 of our exciting Rogue One coverage, beginning with senior writer at Entertainment Weekly, Anthony Breznican.
Yes, we are so excited to have him back during Rogue One release week. So, if you're asking the question, does he give us an exclusive in our discussion?
Well, that remains to be seen.
Yes. Now, we also talk with our good friend and Skywalker admin, Donald Wicks, because he was able to attend the world premiere and after party at the Pantages Theater in Hollywood on December 10th. So we are so excited to talk with him.
And now, just as a preview of our part 2 of our Rogue One coverage, after we saw Rogue One at the, let me get this, TCL Chinese Theater IMAX.
You got it.
I got it because I'm reading it on the cue card right here in front of me. We found this great little patio area. So It was secret squirrel free,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew we were safe. So we got all of our friends together, including the fine folks over there at Star Wars Underworld.
And they have some friends from KPFK Geek Radio and Intergalactic Peace Coalition podcast.
And Star Wars Origami author Chris Alexander.
Skywalker's Brian Sims, and of course from liningup.net, Rick Peralta.
And many, many more. It was a great roundtable. I think this is our second biggest roundtable right after Celebration Anaheim.
Yeah. And then this, of course, will go out in our next episode. It will be part 2 of our coverage, but these 2 episodes will be coming out very close to each other.
Within days of each other.
Yes.
Already editing both at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much. So as soon as we can get them out there, you guys will have them in your ears.
Now, we also have shout-outs, but we gave Rob Dellinger the week off, so there's no Skywalker of the Week.
Just letting you know now, Skywalkers.
And now here are things we want to share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
So I'm sure, like many of you, you have a lot of great stories regarding lining up for Rogue One, because that really is one of the greatest experiences now of seeing a Star Wars film is the line.
Well, the line, and if there is a line, and for us, there's always going to be a line with liningup.net for seeing it at the TCL Chinese Theater IMAX.
I thought you were going to mess that up.
No, I got it in my head. I'm good.
Now, we didn't stay overnight like we did last year for The Force Awakens, but we went down there quite a few times to visit Rick and Craig and the whole crew. And, of course, wouldn't you know it, the day that Rogue One was going to open, guess what LA decided to do?
It decided to rain.
It decided to rain.
Luckily, it wasn't that bad.
No, but like an hour ahead of the Chinese theater letting us in, it started to rain.
Yeah.
And, of course, we did get our recorder out. Rain, sleet, snow, or shine, or waterfall, or thunderstorm, or hurricane.
Or backside of water. Doesn't matter.
Or backside of water, or riot here in LA. We're going to have our recorders out recording some fun stuff. So we got some great pre-show reactions.
Yes.
Right before we did our post-show reactions. And once again, that'll be coming out next week, or next couple of days, really.
Yeah. Now, about an hour before we were going to go in, who showed up at the line?
Our good buddy, Mr. Steven Stanton.
That's right. And we got to speak with him a little bit, not recorded, but we I guess he used to work at the Chinese theater.
Yeah, and he was there. He was telling us when George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were putting their hand and footprints in the cement, he was right there.
Yeah. Yeah, he worked in the early 80s, didn't he say?
Yeah. I think beginning in 82 to 84.
Something like that. So he was telling us all about the back rooms and how the office for Mr. Grauman, I guess, was really neat and had all these secret passageways and things.
We didn't really talk Star Wars. We just talked Grauman's Chinese theater history.
Yeah, it was really cool. So if you ever get a chance to meet Steven Stanton, ask him about working there, because great stories.
Yeah, and ask him how Steven Spielberg almost tipped over while putting his footprints in the cement. So it was really, really fun getting to talk to him, although he was holding some of the characters he had voiced really close to his vest.
Yeah.
Aside from Radis, who was the Mon Calamari, kept trying to ask him about other characters, but he's like Eliza. He wouldn't break. So apparently there's some secrets around that, including the voice of Tarkin.
Yeah. He would neither confirm nor deny.
No, not at all. Not at all. But, in a couple of days, that information will have come out.
Yes. So that was super fun. And then we got to go inside the theater. And what happened in there, Richard?
Well, they had some trivia contests. And,
yes.
And guess who got the one regarding dates?
Richard!
That was me.
That was you.
Now, they had asked what was the date that R2, 3PO, and Vader put their footprints in the cement in the forecourt of the Chinese theater. And me, knowing all the dates, I raised my hand, and I wasn't sure if they had picked me or not. They just looked in my general direction. I just yelled out in my big booming voice.
Yep.
So if anyone else had yelled out, I made sure to be the one that was heard.
And you got the best giveaway they were giving away because they were giving away Funko Pops.
Yes.
Which we're not big fans of, but you got the Krennic 3 3/4-inch action figure.
Yeah. If I'm not going to be the rebel spy, I'm going to win a Krennic action figure.
And it's awesome. I want to take him out of the box and
No.
put him around the house like
No.
Elf on the Shelf.
I can't believe you even went there. I
Yes.
can't believe you even went
Yes,
there.
he's gonna go watch over us.
You've been talking to Trisha today, haven't you? He's going to remain in that package, nicely sealed the way a toy is meant to be.
No.
So you were saying Elf on a Shelf, and now
Yep.
we have Krennic in the corner.
See, he needs to be taken out.
He is happy where he is.
No, a Krennic in the corner. I love it. Oh my god.
Now, we had a lot of trivia contests right before the showing, which was a lot of fun. And I know I don't really like trivia contests because my mind goes blank.
Uh-huh. Oh, no, you're really good at them.
Sometimes my mind will it'll flatline. It's like, what is that? What is that?
Uh-huh.
And I know some of the people we had up for the trivia contest, they experienced the same things.
Yes, it's true.
Not going to name names, but one of them is getting married really soon.
Oh. One of them proposed to his girlfriend right before Rogue One in the theater, which was very sweet.
We're not going to mention who the other one is, but all I can say is Star Wars! That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
But we had a lot of fun with the trivia contests and gave away a lot of great prizes, including these new Fandango Rogue One gift cards.
Yeah, worth $25 each. Now, if you guys have been following us, we actually had the contest go out to anyone online as well. You could enter our Rafflecopter contest to win one of 4 Fandango gift cards, which I am now holding in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is where we announce the winners of the online portion of our Fandango gift card contest. So here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah. Hold on. Cue for drum roll.
Winner number 1 is Bob Bekalewski. He is at BobB1269. So congratulations, Bob. And then we have number 2, Green Topiaries. It's at Green Topiaries on Twitter, and their little image, their little profile image is a topiary of a little bunny.
They automatically win.
All right, it's a hoojib.
Awesome. Next up, we have our good friend Jeff Peterson.
Yep.
At Jalen Jade.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Jeff. And then our final winner is Connie Shee. You are at Connie Shee on Twitter. That is SHIH. And congratulations to our 4 winners. So please, you guys, if you hear your name, please email us, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Email us your addresses, and we will get these right out to you, hopefully in time so that you can buy Rogue One tickets through Fandango.
So far, we've only seen it twice. How many times have you Skywalkers seen it? Have you seen anything online, Sarah? About I'm sure
I have not.
Kevin Reitzel is up to about 25 by now.
Right? I think so.
So let us know how many times you've seen Rogue One at this point, which is still the opening weekend.
Yeah, please tweet at us at SkywalkingPod.
Now, with so much Rogue One greatness to share, let's get into our discussion with Entertainment Weekly senior writer Anthony Breznican and every rogue thought he had on the film. And just as a reminder, this whole show has tons and tons of spoilers. So chances are you've already seen the film, but we can't stress enough that you do not want to listen if you have not seen it.
Now, in case you just tuned out just now, well, here's a little reminder.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead.
The Empire's building a terrible weapon. I need your help. We can stop them. This is your chance to make a real difference. We have hope. Rebellions are built on hope. Are you with me?
All the way.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story, is officially playing at a theater near you as of today. What does that mean? That means we can finally talk about it in length.
So here with us now to discuss everything he couldn't talk about before now is the senior writer at Entertainment Weekly and our go-to guy for up-to-the-minute Star Wars news, Anthony Breznican.
Happy Rogue One Day, Anthony.
Happy December 16th. Seemed like it was so far off, but now it's finally here.
Absolutely.
We're going to be saying that for the next 10 to 20 years.
Right? And now the next episode 8 is 365 days away.
And counting. All right, so let's get to the big question. You saw Rogue One, a Star Wars story. What did you think?
I was thrilled. I loved it. I went in with the same apprehension and high hopes that everyone did. And, you know, I heard a lot about the reshoots and wrote about the reshoots a lot. And I was very curious what was going to happen, you know, and I feel like they pulled it off. There's a lot of talk about what wasn't in the movie that was featured in the trailer.
Yeah.
Certainly some spectacular shots in the trailer that did not make the final cut. But I have to say, I didn't think about that until afterward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it worked for me. And I can't wait to see it again. I'm taking my daughter to see the film tonight with her friends and a couple of other moms and dads, and can't wait for her to see the story, although I'm a little nervous. Are we able to talk spoilers on the show?
Yes.
We're telling everyone, if you haven't seen the film, don't listen to this show.
Right.
Well, she's so excited to see Jyn Erso. Like, she loves Jyn Erso from what she's seen, and she reads the articles I bring home, you know, from Entertainment Weekly and all that. And I really admire the ending of this film, but I'm a little worried, like, oh, this is it. This is her. She's going to see her hero's end. So that's a bit hard, but that's part of what heroism is sacrifice, though. So be giving us some interesting things to talk about.
Absolutely. And, you know, you actually wrote an article about what to talk to kids about or how old they should be during, you know, while watching Rogue One. And I thought you had some really great points in there, especially like about Darth Vader.
Right, and what you should be talking to your kids about before or after. And your daughter is 7 years old?
She's 7, yeah, like 7.5 now.
So what are you going to talk to her about before the film?
Well, you know, the whole reason I wrote this thing was not to preach at anybody, and not to lecture about whether your kids should go or not. I don't make any judgment about whether people want to take their kids. It's a PG-13 rated movie. I've made the decision that my daughter can come see it with me. My son is 4, almost 4, and I think he's just a little too young for some of the brutality in the movie, so he's going to be watching it in a few years. My daughter, I feel like she's right on the edge. She's, you know, I don't say this to brag. I just think she's she's able to deal with sadness in movies better than a lot of kids, and she's been exposed to like Brave, the Pixar movie, and some other films that have a bit of a tragic element, and she's weathered it well. So I think she'll be able to handle this. And when I wrote this like parents' guide to Rogue One, I really was not, like I said, trying to steer anybody away or toward the film, but I think moms and dads, when the movie's PG-13 and it's something like Star Wars that's popular with little kids, they just kind of want to know what they're walking into. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
I think that was my goal, was just to say, here's what you're getting into without giving away spoilers. You know, Darth Vader is really intense and scary in this movie in ways he wasn't in previous films. And that may be a heresy to say, but you know, he was always intimidating and scary. But in this film, he chops a room full of guys down with a lightsaber, and we don't cut away the way we did in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. You know, he ignites his lightsaber and you know what he does, but you don't really see it. Here you see it, and he crushes a guy against the ceiling. It's pretty dark, and you see him outside of his suit in this sort of body horror moment. Things like that, I think like I said, I'm going to throw a hand up over my daughter's eyes, or I have a feeling she'll kind of curl into me a little and be like, ugh. Just wanted parents to be prepared for that. But then, I did this last year with The Force Awakens because of the death of Han Solo and the abandonment of Rey. And I think kids sometimes come out of you can expose kids. My parenting style is I think it's okay to expose kids to mature material within reason. Mm-hmm. But you want to have something to talk to them about because otherwise their brains are going to be turning that over without you. Right. And so, when we drove home from Force Awakens, we talked about Han Solo and what it means and why that happened. And I like to think then it's not scary. It may still be scary for them, but they have a little bit of intellectualism to grapple with it. They have a little bit of mom and dad's comfort to help them understand something that's troubling. And that's sort of my philosophy. And I put it out there. I think there may be some parents who say, yeah, this sounds a little heavy for my kid. Others will say, well, my kid can handle it. I think it'll be okay. And they seem to appreciate being given, a kind of general heads up about the movie. But I think, the ending with the deaths of all these characters is hard. It was hard for me, and I'm a grown man. These characters I love are Jake Dispatch. I think that's going to be rough on kids. They kind of love their characters, and it's hard to let them go. So, I just offer some suggestions, almost like talking points, or just even for the adults, ways to think about what they've seen is that heroism isn't always about winning and walking away happy. That sometimes heroism is about sacrifice and trying to help somebody else, even if you end up getting hurt.
Right, and even sacrificing your morals as well.
Yeah, you have a great line in your article where you say, little ones who know Vader from adorable storybooks are going to grow up very fast when they see Rogue One.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But when they finally see Return of the Jedi, I think it'll be more of a story arc and a character arc for Vader.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's what's interesting is you get to see a bit of what's being redeemed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You get
that's
to
a good
see
point.
a little of like why he was so horrible and what he did that was wrong. And that's pretty fascinating, I think, for any Star Wars fan.
Plus, seeing the prequels, I think, will really ramp you up to who's underneath the Darth Vader suit. Because now when you watch Episode 4 and you see Vader walking through the blockade runner door, whereas before you would think, oh, here comes this big menacing monster. Now when I see it, I think, oh, that poor Anakin. Oh, look what he's become because of Palpatine. So I think he's going to have a bigger story arc and character arc now. Now, in regards to relating The Force Awakens and Rogue One and how kids will perceive it, in The Force Awakens, we see Han Solo being pierced by Kylo Ren's lightsaber, but at the end of Rogue One, we don't really see the death of Jyn Erso or Cassian Andor because they cut away right before that. Do you think that will have an impact as opposed to The Force Awakens?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there. We do see the explosion. The Death Star vaporizes that section of Scarif, and we see them consumed by the fireball. So even though we don't see their skin peel off and their bones blow away, like you see them swallowed by this light. Now, I think that's a very hopeful way for someone to go. They're literally swallowed by the light.
Right.
But I kept thinking, somebody's gonna swoop down and save them. This is a Star Wars film. There has to be some kind of hope at the end. But I do think, personally, I just believe that loss is not the same as darkness, and sacrifice is very far from darkness. Sacrifice is what parents do for their children, dating back to Paleolithic times, fighting
Right.
a saber-toothed tiger to protect their little ones. And sacrifice is an important part of life. And I think we often dismiss it in our stories, in especially in Hollywood stories, is we like to think that the good guys are victorious and they are made whole and everything works out in the end. But in real life, there's often a tremendous cost to be paid for doing the right thing.
Right.
And I think we mislead kids when we tell them, no, stand up to the bully and you'll be fine. Actually, stand up to the bully and you'll get punched. But that's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and that punch you're taking is preventing them from doing it to somebody else. And I think that we're missing in our culture, especially in our pop culture, that element of sacrifice. We have a lot of heroes out there, but we very seldom have ones who give up something. And I like that the Marvel movies and the Star Wars movies are starting to wake up to that and starting to say, no, there is a cost to doing the right thing. That's okay. It's worth paying.
Yeah, and just like Han Solo had sacrificed himself in The Force Awakens just for the hope of turning Kylo Ren back to the good side so he'll stop wreaking havoc on the galaxy. Or now we have Jyn Erso almost in reverse, sacrificing herself to honor her father and at the same time to spread peace among the galaxy. So I like how they mirror each other, but in reverse.
Well, I honestly find it really interesting that many Star Wars fans' favorite Star Wars film is The Empire Strikes Back, and the ending there is not so happy. And now we've talked to, a dozen Star Wars fans since watching Rogue One, and many are saying this might be their favorite Star Wars film. And once again, an ending that is not entirely happy because all of our heroes that we've learned to love in the last 2 hours die. So it's interesting that we as humans are drawn to those darker stories because that's more like our real lives.
We do. We love that darker storytelling.
And people have wanted a darker film since The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And now they're getting it. And plus, all the first-generation fans are going, wow, this is the film I've been waiting for since 1977, and I saw that crawl go up. It is a period of civil war, rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil galactic empire. What does that mean? Well, now we know what it means.
We sure do.
Wow.
Have you spoken to Kathleen Kennedy or other top brass about the big premiere last Saturday and what their reactions have been and how they feel about it?
Well, yeah, briefly at the party afterward, I caught up with Kathy and a few of the other folks from the film. We didn't get to talk in any depth. They were jetting off to London for the UK premiere of the movie, and then I think I have other destinations around the world that they have to hit. But they seemed pleased with the reaction.
Yeah,
they seemed pleased with the reaction. I certainly was pleased with it. You know, when you write about these movies, you kind of hope that they're good because otherwise you've spent a lot of your time chronicling something that's not exactly memorable or not for the right reasons. But the reaction to this film has been pretty spectacular.
Oh, tremendously.
Not to say that it's perfect either. I think it's wonderful. I think in these times especially, it's great to have something to cling to that makes you happy. But yeah, there are little things here and there that I would have fixed or changed. But
like what?
To each his own. Yeah.
Ending in particular?
Yeah, I would. There people have complained about some of the CG characters. I think it's a fine and noble effort, and so they get points for trying there. From me, the beginning of the movie is a little jumbled, but I also feel like that represents the confusion and disarray in the rebellion. Is that there really isn't much focus there on who is actually taking action here. It's just sort of a lot of people working at cross purposes. So I don't know if that was intentional or accidental, but that also sort of works for me. You know, a few points at the end of the movie where everybody had a little switch to throw or a plug to put in. Like I wasn't quite. I was a little lost there, but I just kind of rolled with it. But the main thing, and this is just me wanting something different, so you can take it or leave it. But when Chirrut Imwe walks into the blaster fire to throw a switch that's going to help them transmit these plans to the rebellion, I was really hoping for a variation on that scene from the one we got. I don't know how much depth you want me to go into, but
please do.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, dive
We're
in.
Interested.
Okay. So since we're in spoiler territory, what happens is Chirrut walks out from a place of cover, and Baze, his best friend, and I don't know if there's something deeper deeper connection to them, but there clearly is it's either a brotherhood or they're lovers or there's something there that's deeper than just a fellow soldier. But Baze watches him walk out into fire and he yells out, "No!" And Chirrut is doing his incantation. What was it like? I am one with the Force. The Force is
with me. Yes.
Yeah. He's doing his incantation. It's almost like a prayer, and the blaster fire is missing him, and then he throws the switch, and he gives a smile, and then he's blown to smithereens. And I was really hoping he was going to walk out. The blaster fire was going to miss him. It was going to miss him. It was going to miss him, and then he was going to get hit halfway to the mark. He goes down really hard. But he gets up again, and his shoulder is smoking, and he uses his staff almost as a crutch to keep moving forward in the sand toward this switch, and he gets hit again, and he goes down. And this time you're not sure he's going to get up, but he does, and he's limping, and then he's hit really fast in succession, 1, 2, 3 more times, until he's a mess. He's clearly dying. And yet he musters his strength, throws out his hand, and we think he's going to throw the switch, but he can't. He's 5 feet away from it, right? Uh-huh. And so he's failed. He's been killed, and he hasn't done the task that he needs to do to help them transmit the plans. But he closes his eyes. He keeps he's instead of collapsing, he strains his hand a little bit more. It gets very quiet. All the gunfire and explosions just fade into an echo. We hear him say, "I am one with the Force is with me." And then we see that switch at the tip of his fingers 5 feet away go. And just flip up. And then he dies. And then in his final moments, the Force did speak through him. Just for that one tiny moment. Wouldn't that have given you chills? I really wanted that to happen. But that's just my rewrite of it. But take it or leave it.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, that's what I was thinking was going to happen is that, do we see him using the Force? Do all his midichlorians line up? But then I thought they really wanted to stay away from Jedis with this. So I thought, no, that's not going to happen.
I think that would have been just a little bit that this guy who believed in something that for 1 second, that thing believed in him too. I think that would have been really cool.
Or he reaches up and he just can't do it, but then you see Baze's hand goes up and he does it.
Yeah.
I just don't think Baze is that in tune with the Force yet.
But he is the guardian of the wills, so maybe being with Chirrut so long, his midichlorians are starting to talk to each other too.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it was that clear cut that kids can understand about the sacrifice he made and just throwing that switch. And I see what you mean by it's something as simple as plugging this in or hitting a switch here or releasing that toggle switch there.
Touching that big red button over there.
But in Star Wars, it's always been about hitting a button. And everything works out.
Puzzle. It seems like a little bit of puzzle solving to me, but, it's okay. You got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely.
All right, now I want to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects in the world, Easter eggs. Now, what character or Easter egg were you most surprised with?
I would have to say Chopper. I was surprised to see Chopper in there.
Where?
Yeah, we were looking for him.
Well, you can either see it again or you can check out Entertainment Weekly next week, and we will have the image from the movie that features Chopper. He goes by really fast, and he moves really quickly. It's kind of a blur. Even the still that we managed to get has a little bit of blur to it, but he's in there remember when the Rogue One crew is already on the surface of Scarif, and the rebellion gets word that this operation is underway, and then they all join forces and they launch the X-Wings. The cavalry gets sent in. So when they're marching out of the temple at Yavin, Mon Mothma and the general, who's played by the actor from The Exorcist, I'm blanking on his name at the moment, but they're walking out ready to get in their X-Wings, and you see Chopper just sort of skate by.
Oh.
Is he in the foreground or the background?
Kind of off to the side.
Oh.
Okay.
To the left. To the left.
To the left.
To the left.
That's where I saw the ghost, too, to the left. All right.
Yeah, it's always to the left.
Yes, you see the ghost there. I saw the ghost 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I
Right.
saw it docked when Jin and Cassian were about to leave to go and find Galen. So you see it docked to the left, and you saw it multiple times in the battle.
Right.
Now, we thought we had seen Cham Syndulla from the Clone Wars and Rebels, but someone said that they heard you thought it was a relative of Bib Fortuna, and this was in Saw Gerrera's encampment.
Yeah, that character is named Fortuna, not Syndulla. So it's either a cousin or a brother or something of Bib Fortuna, or maybe just no relation. Maybe Fortuna is like Smith.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you read somewhere, or did someone tell you that this was a relative of Bib Fortuna?
Yeah, we wrote about it in our magazine.
Which
So
how did I miss that? I read everything you've written, and I don't know how I missed that part.
well, this was one I didn't write. So
that's why.
it was one of my colleagues. I think it was Joe McGovern wrote this piece about some of the beings in Rogue One, and including the one played by Warwick Davis and a few of the other little droids like that we see come and go in the movie. Admiral Raddus is in there, but we have, his name is Beezer Fortuna.
Huh.
I don't know if Beezer, that could be a man or a woman.
I think it's a guy because of the way the Leku are and the bulbous head.
He had more of a squared off head like Cham Syndulla had. So that's why I thought it was him.
Yeah, it didn't look too friendly, but I guess, but his name is Beezer Fortuna. So
That's funny.
And in about a week or two, he'll have his own action figure.
maybe, but aren't you shocked at how few action figures are actually out there? Like, you can't buy just a regular action figure for older Han Solo or Leia or Luke.
Yeah, I think they're, in their mind, in Hasbro's mind, they're thinking, well, will kids want to play with an older Luke, Han, or Leia, or are they going to want to just stick with Poe and Finn and Rey and Darth Vader?
But we had Obi-Wan. We had him with his little slit in the wrist and his little wiggly thread-like lightsaber it would shoot out. Like, we wanted him.
But we never had a Grand Moff Tarkin, and that was Kenner's reasoning, because they're thinking who's going to want to play with an older figure.
You're right.
Not until like the mid-90s.
You're right about that. There never was a Tarkin. That's really true. I never thought of that. And you know what? And Tarkin didn't really resonate with me for that reason when I was younger. Is that because he wasn't a part of my play, because he wasn't an action figure. He wasn't in any of the coloring books.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I revisited the movies years later that I was like, oh yeah, he's kind of a major player in this.
Right.
So
and because he didn't have a weapon, however, in the 1990s when they released their Grand Moff Tarkin action figure, they gave him like a big Baze Malbus bazooka. I don't remember that in the movie. Whereas Obi-Wan or Ben Kenobi had a lightsaber. Okay, he was fun to play with because he battles.
Right.
I guess there were Tarkin characters later, action figures that came out later, right?
Yeah, because all of us fans grew up and thought, well, we want a Grand Moff Tarkin. What a great character this is. This guy stands up and yells at Darth Vader. We want an action figure of him.
Mm-hmm.
Just not with a big bazooka.
Well, okay, so I know when we last spoke with you, we had asked you, it was right when you had done an article for EW that was showing the relationships between the characters. Was there any character relationship that played out like that you really liked the best, or was there any character relationships that didn't play out for you in this film?
I really like the relationship between Chirrut and Baze. I had kind of, when I do those stories trying to figure out who's who, part of it is my conjecture in the interview. I'll say, are they kind of like this? Is Cassian is he sort of like a rigid, like by the book kind of guy? And they'll go, yeah, no, he's very by the book, but he's not a square. And they'll sort of like correct my view and then offer their own. And so it's sort of like we're reaching together. And I asked if Baze and Chirrut were kind of like Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. Mm-hmm. And they were like, I don't think they'd really thought about that. And they were like, yeah, sort of. And I think that relationship really proved to be true, that Baze, a lot like Sancho, was looking after not his master, but his friend, who was a bit crazy in his opinion. And yet also kind of inspired. So I love their friendship, and there's a debate about whether they have something deeper than a friendship, whether there's maybe a love between them, romantic love. I think, hey, they're monks. They're guardians of the wills. We all know what monks got up to back in the old days. Why not? But it's certainly nothing that's overt, and the filmmakers have embraced that. And I think it's just very sweet to see the friendship, if that's all it is, or the affection between them manifested so strongly. When Chirrut goes down and in that moment that we just described, when he finally falls and sacrifices his life, like the agony that Baze expresses I thought was just so moving, so crushing. And I love their relationship. I thought Jin and Cassian had a great relationship too. Great partnership, great affection between them. But I have to say my favorite was K2SO. I thought he was hysterically funny. I recognize that personality type. I don't know any droids, but I do know people who are just like that.
If you work in Hollywood, you know those droid types.
But just sort of the blunt person who means well, but doesn't always think about his words.
Doesn't have a filter.
Right.
Yeah, unfiltered. I liked him a lot. He was my kind of droid.
Nice.
Now, I'm curious to know if there's anything that you knew that you couldn't talk about before today. Anything behind the scenes that Kathleen or JJ or Bob Iger said, okay, Anthony, we can tell you this, but don't tell anyone until December 16th.
No, not them. I mean, usually what I talk about with them would be all on the record. And if there's something they don't want out there, they would just not discuss it or not reveal it. You know, I tried to get them to talk about Tarkin and the creation of Leia. I wasn't ever going to talk about Leia because I think that is it's strictly a spoiler. You know what I mean? That's her appearance is so brief, and it's I think its only appeal is the element of surprise. So I would never have published that, and I only talk about it now because we're protected in the under the cone of spoiler. The Tarkin thing, you know, he's a big enough character that he's hinted at in the trailer and all that. And, you know, I held back talking about that because I was willing to respect their secrecy on the creation of him and his resurrection, as it were, since Peter Cushing died in 1994. But when I saw that they hinted at him in the trailer, then it was like, okay, well, what I've heard from others then I think is fair to use,
right? Because
they've now tipped their hand and shown what they have. So that was about it. Like I do censor what I write about the plot in terms of spoilers. And I'll often say in interviews, like, I'm trying to figure out what there is to reveal about this story, but I am respectful of the twists and turns, you know? So don't tell me something that you want to remain a surprise, but let's talk about what's not a surprise. The relationships between characters, sort of the backstory, where we meet them, the state of the galaxy, all of those things I consider to be fair game, but just sort of like who kills who or what the twist is, and, you know, that sort of thing. I understand you do want to preserve the secrecy of that. And I don't think there's much journalistic value in ruining movies for people. That's not the job that I'm in. There's not it's not like I'm sitting on some secret, you know, data that I can now give out. I'm as curious as anybody about what the original ending may have been, because we clearly see a lot of scenes in the trailers that are not in the movie. So I'm very intrigued by why they made the decision that a transmission from the planet would be how they distribute the plans for the Death Star, as opposed to escaping with the hard drive, which is what we saw in some of the footage from the trailers.
That's true, because Jin was running on the beach
right.
with the hard drive.
Yeah, I want to know what the original variation on that was and why they felt the need to change it. I suspect that the outcome was the same, but imagine if they had escaped from the planet, transmitted the plans to Leia's ship, the Tantive, and then were blown to smithereens. I feel like even though the result is the same, that the characters die, it's less satisfying. It's less noble that they just get killed in space. You know, that seems almost like a cruel twist, as opposed to they went to the planet and they knew they may not ever get off.
Right.
So I think it's just a slight change in degree, but a very important one that leaves you in a different destination as you ruminate on it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so Anthony, the Rogue One soundtrack was just released today. So how do you think it stacks up to, a John Williams score? Because it's by Michael Giacchino.
Well, I love Michael's work. I think he's heir to the position that John Williams fills in our pop culture. I don't think you can ever replace John Williams, just like I don't know that you'll ever be able to replace Michael Giacchino, but he has a talent and an ability to draw out emotions and an imagination when it comes to music that I think places him in league with the greats like John Williams. And he clearly has a tremendous affection for Williams's work. So I thought the score held up really well, but I have to admit that when I'm watching the movie, I get swept up in everything. So it's very hard for me to separate out the different elements. I might think, well, that's a great shot, or that's a beautiful cue of music. But in terms of the whole score, I have not listened to the whole thing just yet, separate from the movie. So, but I liked what I heard a great deal. I thought he did a worthy job.
Yeah, definitely. And I really loved reading your interview with Michael Giacchino about
I'm glad.
the score.
I love talking to him.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I liked hearing his, especially that he works with Don Williams, his timpani player, is John's brother. So it's kind of like there's still that connection, the family connection at least.
Yeah, that's so cool. And
it's like, you got Beezer Fortuna and you have Don Williams. Like,
they're keeping it in the family.
Yeah.
Just the way a Star Wars film should be. At what point did you sit through the film and realize, you know what, this music really is Star Wars? Did it feel like Star Wars all the way through? Was there a certain moment you recall?
Yeah, I felt like it the whole way through. The only time it didn't was when we saw the big title card and you get this sort of minor key variation on the Star Wars fanfare. I was like, okay, that feels like we're invoking Star Wars, but not quite trying to imitate it completely. So, but overall, yeah, it felt like Star Wars to me.
How long did Michael have to write this score? When was it officially appointed that he was going to do this?
4.5 months, but I don't know if you can trust that, because if that's the case, then he must be barking insane by now. Like, that's crazy. I could barely do anything within, give me four weeks.
Yeah.
Or was it 4.5 weeks? Did you say? Yeah,
4.5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah, because it was right around Halloween.
Well, I think he was hired in September.
Yeah.
Right.
It would have to have been.
Yeah, because I know they were recording. He was wrapping up in the first week of November when I interviewed him. He was putting the finishing touches on the score.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah. Any later, and he would just be borrowing every other track from a Star Wars soundtrack. And this is where the throne room will fit in, and this is where Luke and Leia will fit in here. And I think Qui-Gon's Noble End will be perfect right over here. And he ends up writing like 10%. Yeah, like you, when I heard that the theme come in where the Rogue One title came up, I thought, let's try again.
Honestly, that may not have been so much Michael Giacchino's call as the director or Kathleen Kennedy on, okay, we want this to be a little more different than the actual Star Wars music.
Yeah, but if you're not going to have the opening crawl, at least give us the opening music.
Yeah, I think it should have been the opening music, honestly.
Yeah. There's only so much you can depart before fans started saying, hey, now. But after that, we were totally in.
Yeah, the rest of it was amazing.
So what are you working on now?
Well, right now I have a few other little Rogue One treats that are coming, and I think hopefully we'll get into a little bit of the Easter eggs in Entertainment Weekly, and then it's Christmas time. Take a little time off, and back at it in January.
It's Christmas?
Then it's time to set your sights. Then it's time to set your sights on what do they call it? Episode 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, since you brought it up, what you got?
What do I know about Episode 8?
Yeah, what you working on, or what have they told you, or who's raised parents?
Well, who's raised parents? Well, you want the exclusive?
Yes, please.
Yes.
I know I'm going to get into real serious trouble with the Lucasfilm people, but I figure, to heck with it. What are they going to do? I know who Rey's father is.
What?
Hello? You ready? You want to know?
Well, no, I don't want to know.
Ready? I'm going to tell you.
Take this off. Hold on, Sarah. Take your headphones off. Go ahead.
It's Beezer Fortuna.
I knew it.
It's Beezer Fortuna.
Whatever. I heard that.
I knew it.
Where's her Leku then?
Right?
You know what? That makes a whole lot
Beezer.
of sense. They're both in Star
That's
Wars.
why he's in there.
That's mean.
Sorry. I really dragged that out.
You know what we're going to post this show as Anthony Breznican spoils Rey's dad, and here it is.
It's Beezer Fortuna. You know, everybody will listen to that, and then everybody will hate us for it, so you shouldn't hype that.
No.
Yeah, we know who to point the fingers at.
No, that's one of those things. If I had a copy of the script and I knew exactly who her parents were, I wouldn't tell anyone. I wouldn't tell a soul, because I wouldn't want to know that, and I wouldn't spoil that for people. That's part of the fun of the movie. But watch me be proven right, and you'll be like, oh, he was telling us the truth. No, I was just making up the Beezer Fortuna.
We had that a year ago. Why didn't we publish that? So
Nice.
You say you have some more Entertainment Weekly Rogue One stuff coming up. Are these going to be standalone issues? Will they be in the regular issues?
No, just some online stories. We spoke with the head of the U.S. The Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. He had some interesting thoughts on Star Wars, not as sci-fi fantasy, but as espionage dressed up in science fiction. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing. Just a neat perspective with him. We'll dive into some of the Easter eggs and some of the Rebels connections, and then we'll see what else I get. You know, it kind of depends on who I get access to do the kind of post-mortem on the movie. But hopefully there will be some nice treats along the way. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Well, we will look forward to reading Entertainment Weekly, all that coverage.
Yeah, as always. Will this be coming out this year or in the beginning of the year?
Oh, the next couple of days.
Oh.
Nice.
Oh, fantastic.
All right. Well, we'll be sure to share and spread around.
And tell everyone that we know who Rey's parents are, courtesy of Anthony Breznican.
Did you really think I was going to say drop some knowledge on you?
No.
You were.
No, I didn't know that. I knew you were.
That was a good punking. You'll have to get revenge on me.
Absolutely.
Hold on. Today's to-do list. Get revenge on Anthony Breznican. All right. Moving right along. All right. So if people want to find you online or your articles on Entertainment Weekly, where would they go for that?
Well, they can find me on Twitter. I'm at Breznican. It's BREZNICAN. That's just my personal account. I mouth off about Star Wars and politics and other movies and TV shows and the weather and all sorts of whatever just pops into my head. If you want to read the articles, EW.com is a great place. We love our subscribers too. So if you want, I think we've proven ourselves to be among the Star Wars faithful. I'm really delighted to be given so many opportunities to write about these movies at an early stage. So if you want your first look at Episode 8 and other films in the franchise, I hope you'll consider subscribing. It helps keep the lights on at our operation, and I certainly appreciate it. And I love to hear from readers too. So find me on Twitter and tell me what's what.
Anthony, thank you so much. It was such a busy schedule with the holidays coming up and Rogue One here. You must be incredibly busy. So thank you for all the time that you spend here on Skywalking Through Neverland and all the other podcasts and the interviews that you do. And you truly are a credit to the Star Wars fan community.
Well, thanks. That's really, I can't think of a nicer thing to say. You guys are too. I love your incredible enthusiasm. You're just always, your pictures and your presence on the scene at events is really fun, and you bring a great energy to it. So thank you for doing what you do as well.
Well,
all right.
Thank you.
Wow.
And well, with that, all we got to say is Happy Rogue One Day to all, and to all a good night.
Shout-outs, Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who has tweeted out? Shout out Who has photobombed? Shout out. Who has shared a post? Shout out.
Oh my gosh, sweetie, we had Christmas cards.
Just like we did in the old days, we taped them up all over the studio here.
Yeah. So Russell Flores sent us a very funny Star Wars Hallmark card. And you know, if it says Hallmark on the back, it's got to be good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cute. It has Han Solo and Chewie has a whole bunch of socks
Yes, he does.
stuck to him.
Yes, someone didn't use a dryer sheet before doing the laundry.
That's true.
Looking at you, Han Solo.
Absolutely. So Han says, the static is strong with you, Chewie.
And then Brian Sims, who's been playing a lot on Photoshop. He sent us some really nice Christmas cards.
Yeah, using pictures that he photoshopped. So they're printouts. Oh my gosh, they're so adorable. With Happy New Year 2017, and then pictures of us from Rancho Obi-Wan.
There's me and you and Brian and Margaret Mays right in front of a land speeder, and apparently we were on Tatooine.
Yeah, we didn't know it at the time, but
I don't recall
wow.
us being on Tatooine, but that was a very busy day. We could have been on Tatooine, I just didn't know it.
It's true. And then, Richard, this picture of you as Director Krennic
Oh, put that on our...
is the bomb.
On Krennic Corner.
On Krennic Corner over
Yeah.
here.
Put that right there. All right, so now we have the action figure of Krennic. We have an origami Krennic that Chris Alexander made. And now we have a picture of me as Director Krennic.
It is amazing.
Thank you, Brian. We also got a great Christmas card from the Hunt family.
Yeah, so we want to thank you guys so much. It's so exciting to get these cards.
Yeah, with some great artwork by Cheney and Sophia, who did these portraits of us right in back of us that we have hanging up every time we record. They're right here.
Yeah, they drew an image of Christmas Tink. It's very cute.
Very, very cute.
And just, oh, so cute. So thank you guys so much. And now we want to move on to Twitter, where at Life's Toy Department, they tweeted us a poem that they had written. So this lovely poem has shout-outs to several Star Wars podcasts. See if you can figure out which ones. And it is so amazing. It's based on 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
And now dim the lights, cue the music, and action.
I was skywalking my way through yet another day at work, all alone in a cubicle in a Boba Fett shirt. Time was slowly creeping on this routine Wednesday when I pulled up a few podcasts and happily pressed play. Suddenly, I heard rebel forces, fangirls, and boys flailing. It's like the Millennium Falcon was in the parking lot waiting. Thanks to this aural journey down the Interstellar Parkway, I'm at a coffee shop on Coruscant, meeting Leia for a latte. The next scenic vista shows me twin setting suns, drinks with friends in a cantina, counting down to Rogue One. Then onward to Alderaan, it's the prettiest in all of space, only I was told to never land on that particular place. So instead I drift back reluctantly to this boring old cube, where I'll pause momentarily until I start my commute, where my Honda will transform into an Arctic blue X-Wing with the podcasts back on blast, because see, that's the thing. No matter where you find yourself this blustery, Hoth-like winter, you're only one click away from another exciting adventure. Whether it's through a comlink or one of the social media trends, take some time to sit down and talk Star Wars with friends. Oh my gosh, wasn't that so cool?
A lot of work went into that.
Absolutely. Wow, I think at this point, this was before Rogue One, so I think they were like waiting in line for Rogue One and decided, okay, I need to get my mind off this and onto something fun that will take a lot of time.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Life's Toy Department. It's always great to see the creativity coming from the Skywalkers.
Absolutely.
So keep it coming. We love it.
Now, unfortunately, we were not able to make the Rogue One world premiere. But
No, we had to work.
It's true, because it was on a Saturday. Ugh.
Why have it on a Saturday? Why not like on a Tuesday morning?
Right?
Wednesday afternoon? When we can all make it?
Exactly. But luckily, our Skywalker, Donald Wicks, he was on the job.
Now here he is telling us all about the red carpet, the stars, the after party, and the photo ops.
Oh, it all starts right now here on the red carpet. The energy here is absolutely insane. We've got the Mandalorian mercs behind us.
Where the mercs at?
We've got the 501st. We got the Rebel Legion. We've got stormtroopers. We got TIE pilots. We got rebels. We have all the amazing Star Wars fans that are here to share this experience with us.
That's right. It's absolutely amazing to have all of the fans here on the red carpet with us this year. It's unbelievable. Are you guys ready?
If you were watching the StarWars.com live stream of the Hollywood premiere for Rogue One, you probably saw some familiar faces like Gareth Edwards, Felicity Jones, Alan Tudyk, and Donald Wicks.
That's right. Our own Skywalking Through Neverland, Skywalker and admin Donald Wicks was right there front and center in the cosplay viewing area. And now he's here to tell us all about his amazing experience that night.
Hey, Donald.
Hey, Richard. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, so you are the chosen one, huh?
Yeah.
One of few. Yes, one of few.
Well, we want to hear all about your amazing night and how you got chosen, and who you were wearing.
All right, well, I, of course, am a proud member of the Star Wars costuming group, the Rebel Legion, and the powers that be reached out to the local California-based costuming groups and invited them all to the red carpet premiere. That's the Mandalorian mercs, the 501st, and the Rebel Legion, of course. They wanted to have some costumers in Rogue One costumes, and the Southern California base for the Rebel Legion, Sunrider base, really just took the reins on that and made some incredible costumes. I hope everybody had a chance to see the finished product and all the hard work that they put into those costumes.
I love that Baze Melba's costume.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
That person was on it.
All of them looked great. We even had a Pal and a Jin and the Shore Troopers. They all looked incredible. Mm-hmm. And they felt, I guess, that we didn't have quite enough characters. We wanted to have a lower amount, but we wanted a few more. So the base commanding officer of the Southern California base and myself decided to wear our X-Wings because, of course, X-Wings are prominent in this movie, as I think many have seen in the trailers, that there's some great X-Wing battles. And, of course, with the X-Wing that was on the red carpet down at the event.
Absolutely.
How much did you want to jump inside that?
I wanted to take it for a spin. I ain't going to lie.
And you were dressed the part.
I was, yes. I was, as you asked earlier who I was wearing. I was wearing Jek Porkins, hero of the rebellion, ace crackpot, ace X-Wing pilot, kind of a crackpot.
He was kind of a crackpot.
Yes.
Porkins just eject, okay?
He thought he could hold it, but he was wrong.
Oh.
But yeah, that X-Wing was beautiful. I actually, when I arrived in Hollywood that morning, me and my group decided to stop off at the Denny's down the street from the hotel. And I was, of course, in my Rebel Legion shirt. And I saw a gentleman walking out with a jacket that said Episode 8 crew. And he liked our shirts, and I liked his jacket, and we talked for a couple seconds. And this guy, come to find out, his name was Chaz, helped to build that X-Wing. It's a screen-used prop. And they pieced it together and shipped it over and assembled it here.
Wow. Just for one night. Thank you, Disney.
Exactly. And so I met the guy. He was super nice. And then I actually saw him on the red carpet when I was in costume. I called him over and I said, "Hey, do you remember me? I met you at Denny's." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't recognize you, in your costume."
And plus, you weren't blowing up.
Yeah. We struck up a really great conversation with me and some of the other costumers in the area, and he's telling us all about the construction, how much it weighs. The cockpit all had lights and dials, and it was all like almost a completely working prop, aside from the fact that it didn't fly. But there was an actuator that raised up the canopy. This thing was just amazing.
Wow. What did he do on Episode 8? Did you ever get around to asking him that?
Well, I didn't ask specifics, but as I mentioned, he's the guy who had the task of bringing X-Wings to life, and making the props for the actors to sit in and film the up close, shots when they're sitting in the cockpits. And that's about all he really went into.
Oh, that's awesome. Did they let you go over and take pictures with the X-Wing?
They actually did. Of course, the beginning was the red carpet with all the celebrities and the to-dos, walking the length of it. At the end of the evening, after the after party, they actually had it set up where they had Disney cast members throughout the whole event to help people out, and they were there. They took your camera, they put you on this kind of raised up pedestal thingamabobber that was all red, of course, to match the red carpet, and they'll take your picture in front of the thing. Oh. So you got pretty close to it.
Wow,
that's nice. Wow. Well, so you got there to the red carpet. What time did you have to get there before the actual event started?
Okay, we had to arrive about 2:30. We all met with our handler, and we were taken over to a secluded area where we can get into our costumes. And then about 3:30-ish, we trekked over to the red carpet event, walked around the X-Wing, and were put in our section of where we were to stand for the time being of while the red carpet event was actually happening.
Okay.
It didn't look like there were that many cosplayers there, just judging from that live stream.
There wasn't. Like I said, they wanted to keep it to, if I had to guess, I think it's about 10 to 12 of us, maybe.
Oh, wow.
They really wanted the attention to be on, of course, the celebrities and the people who helped bring this movie to life. And the event itself, we were just there as window dressing, a little something extra for the event. But the real star of it was, of course, the movie and the celebrities that had what they had to do with in the movie.
Right.
Oh, come on, Disney. How about a little attention to Porkins?
Well, they did, though. Right on the Star Wars live stream, like a minute in, all of a sudden, oh, look, it's Donald Wicks.
Yeah, you got some good close-ups.
Yeah, I was surprised, to be honest with you.
That was pretty awesome. You got a great spot right there.
Yeah, we showed up a few times on that live stream.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you did. You got more screen time than most of the actors.
I don't know about
Certainly
that.
Baze Malbus.
Yeah, they ain't letting him anywhere near any kind of event until after the movie comes out.
Because he's got a big gun?
Because he's got a big mouth.
Yeah.
He'll
Unfortunately.
be walking around to all the actors, and you die, 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 and...
Yeah.
It's like, Baze, what do you know, David Prowse? Keep it down. So what was your biggest thrill of the night?
You know what? There wasn't one. The whole day, the whole evening, from start to finish was beyond my wildest dreams. I never, in a million years, thought I would ever experience anything like that. The whole event, the red carpet, the movie, the after party, it was phenomenal. Everything about it.
Oh, did you get to meet like any of the cast or crew as they were walking by?
I did. I was, of course, as you saw, closer to the X-Wing. So, and we had other members of our costume groups, in the stands during, the whole front section of that red carpet. So they would come over about the area where they hit the Rogue One costumers, and then they'd run across the path and, shake hands and kiss babies with the other side. So I got a few, like, Alan Tudyk came by and shook everybody's hands. He was super nice. He liked my mustache. Gary Whitta, the writer, or one of the writers of Rogue One, came by and took a selfie with him. Super nice guy. And then, of course, in the event, there was the after party, and celebrities is kind of like it's really hard to explain how you're walking by, you're looking at something, and then, oh hey, Diego Luna just walked by, or oh hey, there's Chris Hardwick. They just appear out of nowhere, and then in a flash they would be gone. So
Did you talk to anybody in the after party?
Now, didn't I see a picture of you and Gareth Edwards?
Yes, that was at the end of the event after they started closing everything down and kicking people out. We were walking to the parking garage, And he was just standing right there. And actually, here's a funny story. So I see him standing there, and I'm like freaking out. Oh my God, I just saw this movie, and it was pretty good. So I thought,
wait. Is that your Rogue One review?
I was being ironic. No, that movie. I don't want to go into it and spoil it for anybody, but I was personally very, very happy with what I saw.
Okay.
So he was standing there talking with some people, and I, of course, patiently waited because I'm not the type to just like bum rush and say, sign this because you owe me. And there was a lady there in a pretty red dress. And I looked over at her and I was like, excuse me, ma'am, are you in line waiting for him? I didn't want to cut. And she's like, oh, no. And this lovely British accent. Oh, no. I'm his sister. So we're chatting it up and killing time while he's talking with someone else. And I made the suggestion to her that she should start getting his autograph, selling it on eBay, and she could retire very quickly. And she thought, a good idea. And then I said to Gareth, I said, I'm not the type to say anything bad about people who aren't here to defend themselves, but I wasn't a big fan of The Force Awakens. And I told him that this movie blew that movie out of the water.
Wow.
And he sounded like he liked the compliment, or he seemed like he liked the compliment. And it's true for me. I wasn't a fan of The Force Awakens. And this movie is just a billion times better.
So was the after party and the viewing of the film, was that included in your plans, or did they spring that on you like they did with us last year at the Force Awakens screening?
Yeah, I believe that, we were pretty sure. We were 99% positive that we were going to see the movie.
Wow.
We knew that we were invited to the after party. But, the movie, we were still not 100% on it. And then they finally confirmed, you guys are going to see the movie. Especially when we got our badges. And on the back of it was our seat row and our seat number. So we had assigned seating, and they had a specific spot for us. And my badge, basically, was my ticket.
Oh, yeah. So where did you end up sitting in the theater?
Yeah, it isn't that big inside there. So were you sitting near anyone in particular?
I wasn't sitting near any celebrities. There's basically, if you're familiar with it, Pantages Theater.
Yeah, we just saw the monkeys there.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Actually, I sat next to David Jones.
David?
Oh.
David Jones?
I am a believer. Can you believe that?
That must have been 5 years ago then.
Oh, sorry. So, I sat in row Q, which is near the front to the left side of the screen on the bottom level in the orchestra.
Which is where Davey would have sat.
I believe if I had to guess, that the celebrities, actors, and the important people were probably all in the upper area, the balcony,
the mezzanine.
Wow, you really are the chosen one there, Donald. Just with so few cosplayers there and not being a very big theater, you got everything that night.
Well, I didn't get everything. There's a lot of people who went from these costuming groups who had a lot more elbow room, a lot more time with the celebrities. They had, like their badges signed by a lot of the cast members. I took selfies with a lot of the cast members. I ran into a few celebrities in the after party, but the big, from what I learned after the fact, a lot of the actors from the movie, there is a secondary area where they had a life-sized TIE fighter.
What?
Whoa.
I did not see it personally. By the time I found out about it and started to head to it, it was they were closing it up, and everyone in there, they were just waiting for them to meander out. So there was a TIE fighter in there, and I heard that many of the actors and actresses, or many of the actors from Rogue One, were in that area, and that you could get autographs and pictures and stuff from them there.
Wow. Well, there might have been a separate VIP section, because that's what they did with The Force Awakens, the tent.
Yeah, well, there was a separate VIP section for the after party, but a lot of the celebrities made their way to that, and that was open to us. If you had a badge, you can get in there.
Wow, nice.
Where did they hide this TIE fighter?
It was in a big building, and I'm not familiar with the area, so where they closed it off, they had a bunch of really long tents where the red carpet was, and then there was a club there. I assume was a club. That was for the after party.
Yeah, the Avalon is where the after party was.
Okay, so there was that, and then basically just a few hundred feet away, if you walked out the front door and turned left and you walked, there's some stairs and some steps that led to an upper building, and that's where the TIE Fighter was.
Now, if you're going to haul a TIE Fighter to Hollywood, put it out there where everyone can see it. Why you hide it where only a select few can? That doesn't make any sense to me. Because to see an X-Wing and a TIE Fighter in Hollywood Boulevard, oh my goodness, amazing. You know what? it would create more traffic, but you know what? If I'm in a bottleneck traffic jam with an X-Wing and a TIE Fighter, I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah. I mean, people found out about it. They knew about it. It's just there was so much to do in the after party that by the time I finished checking everything out and experiencing everything that I wanted to experience, that I got out there too late.
But you still, I'm sure, had an amazing time.
Oh yeah, I'm not complaining at all. I did meet Diego Luna, and I had the opportunity to tell him that the movie he did, The Book of Life, is one of me and my wife's favorite movies, and we watch it all the time, which is true. And he sings in it. Cassian Andor sings in that movie, in case you didn't know. And Gareth Edwards, and I met some other celebrities who were in there, like a couple guys from Fall Out Boy were in there. There's a couple Backstreet Boys.
Oh, we missed that?
Yeah.
There was a Backstreet Boy or two, and we missed this, Sarah.
You did.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Had to work that night. Dang it. Blast it. When we went to the Force Awakens after party, they had games. They were giving away stuff. They had meet and greet photo ops with characters. Did they have anything like that there?
Yes and no. They didn't really give away too much. It was a catered event with delicious food there. They had a bar, which they had special, and I wish I would have took pictures of it. I'll see if I can find someone, I believe I have somebody that took pictures of the special Star Wars drinks that they made, the adult beverages. They had about 5 or 6 photo ops. They had different backgrounds, and they had Disney costume characters where the Disney cast members were there. They'd take your camera or your phone, take pictures with the costume characters. They would say, oh, no, they got to go and blah, blah, blah. They'll be back in a few minutes after they go take care of some rebels, or the things that they do for those little touches when you're doing photo ops.
Right.
So there was a backdrop with a couple shore troopers. There was a Darth Vader. There was a couple stormtroopers. There was where you go and take a picture, and the Rogue One where it's got the digital lines on their faces.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Green lines.
Yes.
No, the Death Star plans.
The theater display
yes. So
images.
They would go and take your picture, and then they put that on there. They'd print it out, and they'd also email you a digital copy.
Oh, cool. That should be on the Star Wars app.
Yeah, it really should.
That's true. Upstairs, they had a little hallway that was very Star Warsy. The walls where it has the long circular lines and little short circular lines, like in the Tantive 4.
Right.
Oh, yes.
They had those on the wall. Like the walls were decorated Star Warsy, and they had this virtual reality thing that you could do where you pilot an X-Wing.
Nice.
They had a green screen up there, and this is the coolest thing, I think. You take a picture in front of it, and they put you in a Rogue One poster, but the picture moves. So you're on like the where there's the ocean, or the water's edge, and the water is rippling where you're standing. It's really neat.
Wow.
As soon as my picture comes in, I'll post it. I'm still waiting for them to mail it to me.
Look at that picture. And then on Facebook, you have you and Gareth Edwards as your profile pic. And then your wall picture is, of course, you and the X-Wing.
Yeah, looking very heroic.
How often do you guys get to stand in front of a full-sized X-Wing? I mean, come on. You have to make that your Facebook profile picture.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
Yeah, looking through your Facebook wall right now, and you got a lot of great pictures here.
Yeah, and I put some choice ones on Skywalking Through Neverland. I made an album with a lot of the celebrities walking the red carpet that I can get their pictures of, as well as a couple other little things. And, of course, I hope everybody enjoyed the Secret Rebel spy reporting that I did while on the red carpet.
Yes.
It was difficult to do in costume, which is why I didn't have the opportunity to do it that much, but I did it where I could, and I hope everybody enjoyed that.
Yeah, thank you very much for doing that. That was really great, and what an exclusive. Right there on the front lines. We get Skywalking Through Neverland reporting.
Yeah.
Undercover. Yeah, Donald is the new secret squirrel.
But I use my powers for good.
Yes. Yes, you do. You didn't stop anyone from doing anything that night.
Well, if I saw you there, I'd probably have to tell you to take your camera back to the car, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, or throw it away.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to tell us about that night?
Honestly, the movie was, to me, the big thing. It was so refreshing to see something that I didn't really know much about, that was basically set in a world that we weren't familiar with. So since it didn't revolve around, the characters that we grew up with, and those fears were completely put to rest. It was such a fantastic movie. I look forward to seeing it again. I hope everybody out there goes and sees this movie. It's so good.
Yeah, you definitely have to see it 3 or 4 times, just like any Star Wars film, to get all the nuances and the Easter eggs and see what's going on in the background. So, Donald, if anyone wants to reach out to you and maybe learn about the Rebel Legion group, how would they do that?
Well, if you would like to get a hold of me personally, I have a Twitter. It's at Ren the Jedi, WRENTHEJEDI. You can follow my antics with the Rebel Legion on Endor Base's public Facebook page, which is Rebel Legion Endor Base. The Rebel Legion also has a Facebook page. It's the Rebel Legion. And of course, if you're in the area, would like to make an appearance request, or if you want to communicate with us, you can go to endorbase.org and contact us that way as well.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, Donald, thank you very much for coming on and sharing those experiences, and having been to the Star Wars screening for Force Awakens. We know how much fun you had.
Yeah, so we're so glad that you were able to experience it for Rogue One.
It's a phenomenal experience I will never, ever forget until the day that my X-Wing explodes.
No, I'm all
All you have to do is pull up.
I can hold it.
Now, before we sign off, if you could explain the whole night in one word, what would it be?
Wow. Yeah, wow. Wow.
And there you have it.
The word wow.
Well, that wraps up episode 148 of Skywalking Through Rogue One, Part 1
of 2. That'll be coming out in just a few days. Now, we want to give a big thanks to Anthony Breznican and Donald Wicks for this amazing show.
And all of you Skywalkers for taking the time out of your busy holiday schedules and listening. And as a reminder, if you need a stocking stuffer for Christmas or Hanukkah or anything, we have a podcast soundtrack, because it is composed by Rob Dellinger, and he has released an album on iTunes and all digital platforms. So all you have to do is just download digitally. It's very exciting. And it is called Skywalking Through Neverland Awesome Jingle Mix Volume 1. So buy it and help support Rob Dellinger and the show.
And speaking of support, you can also go to retrozap.com, where you can support tons of other great podcasts like Brews and Blasters,
The Deuce Cast Movie Show,
Techno Retro Dads, who we beat in our Ryuchi contest. But as a side note, Missy Davis had heard our show last week where we played the Monkees version of Ryuchi, and we said that it was a Portuguese song, and she said, no, it's a Spanish song. However, we did go to some of our Spanish friends and asked, what language is this? And it was verified that it is Portuguese, but there's Portuguese and Spanish share a lot of the same words.
Yes.
So it's very understandable how it could be misinterpreted as Spanish.
Okay, so now I'm confused. So the
Monkees version, their arrangement of Ryushi, it is like very old school Portuguese.
Okay,
so maybe some of those words translated over time, so they're more Spanish now than Portuguese. So you know what? In the end, I think we're both right.
I think that sounds about right.
Okay, we're both right. Okay, everyone walks away a winner.
Absolutely.
All right, and then you can also hear Talking Apes TV, which should be coming out within the week. And once again, we're going to be talking with John Jackson Miller about the upcoming book, Planet of the Apes: Tales from the Forbidden Zone.
Excellent. All right, Skywalkers, if you want to keep in touch with us over the holiday break, you can tweet us at SkywalkingPod, or we are at Skywalking Pod on Instagram and Periscope as well. And we also have our lovely Facebook group, which is just so full of positivity and happiness all year round. And what you have to do for that, it's a closed group on Facebook. You can search Skywalking Through Neverland, and you can request to join that group, and then please send an email or send a direct message or anything saying that, hey, I want to join the group, I listened to the show. You have to do those 2 steps in order to join the group. Because we get a lot of requests, but if you don't do that extra step of actually contacting us and letting us know you want to join, we can't let you in, because we want that group to be, very curated.
We want our Skywalker family to feel safe.
Yes, safe and a happy family.
All right, now here's a segue that makes no sense. Speaking of feeling safe, after we hear the outro, listen to all the bloopers and outtakes and conversation bits that we couldn't really fit into our Anthony Breznican discussions. We lifted it out, but we still wanted you to hear it.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. And then,
always remember,
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.
And now you know that really you should never land
on Alderaan.
There you go. or
Scorpio.
But you can land on Alderaan, because in this movie, Alderaan exists.
That's true.
For another few hours.
Yes.
Yes. They're on borrowed time, but they're there. So land on it while you can.
Yes, levels are...
Do you need me to do any kind of 1, 2, 1, 2 testing, anything?
No, you're good. The call recorder for Skype is awesome.
If you can sing the first 3 verses of Jabba Flows, that'd be great.
Or that.
So we can get a sound test.
Well, I don't know. No, I don't know the words. I didn't memorize that one.
I know it's a question you get asked all the time. What you just said about Chirrut being hit by laser blasters and keep walking forward, up until this point, in Star Wars, if you got hit by a laser blast, you were down. You were out.
Yeah, that's very true.
But this time, Andor got hit by a laser blast. Krennic got hit by a couple of laser blasts, and they just walked away with a little smolder on their shoulder. Did that bother you at all? Is that just a me thing?
No, I don't think every laser blast should be a kill shot. But
then again, does Princess Leia? So, okay, that disproves my theory. She got hit in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
That's right.
So I guess it's whatever serves that dramatic effect at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Kids have fun perspectives on things. I will say, after The Force Awakens, we were driving home. My daughter and I, she was 6 then, and she was so pumped by that movie. And she's sitting in her car seat, and she's going, "I'm Rey, and my little brother is BB-8, and mommy is General Leia, and you, Daddy, are," and I'm like, I'm ready for the Han Solo praise, right? And she goes, "You are C-3PO," and I was like, "What? Look, are you? I'm nothing like C-3PO. What are you talking about?" And then I realized I just sounded exactly like C-3PO.
That's hilarious.
Well, now after Rogue One, she's gonna say, "Daddy, you remind me of Beezer Fortuna."
Exactly. Yeah. You just sit there and don't say anything.